A dash of mystery, a sparkle of magic, and all things cozy. Join your host, Elle Hartford, for Cozy Alchemy, a proud member of the Authors on the Air network.
Hello and welcome to Cozy Alchemy, a podcast all about cozy, comforting books. I'm Elle, and my guest today is Amber Larrain, author of Spellbound Beneath Sapphire Skies. We will get to that in just a minute, but first, Amber is going to start us off with a game of Two Truths and a Lie.
All right. So I wrote them down because in college once I played this game and my friend turned to me and she was like, all of those were lies, so I'm not too good at this. All right. So I've been to over 45 countries. I wrote my first book in third grade, and I named my dog after my favorite book series.
Ooh, oh, those are really good ones. Okay. Over 45 countries is very impressive. And it's so funny. We've had a couple of different authors bring up when they wrote their first book or whether their first book was the one that they published. And I feel like I always go the wrong direction on it. And of course, the dog one makes complete sense. I am going to guess that the first one is the lie.
No, it's that I wrote my first book in third grade
Oh, okay. When did you actually write your first book?
of last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote like short stories in college, but not very many. It wasn't really a big hobby of mine. And then one day I just said, I'm going to write a book, and I did. So that's been my new hobby.
Nice. Well, yeah, because you have so is it two thrillers or like psychological? Yeah.
hmm
And then
And then I have the cozy fantasy, and then I have two more in the works. So,
ooh, okay. We'll get to that probably at
yeah.
the end. But for now, you described the novella specifically as a story meant to warm your heart, which is lovely. Uh, could you tell us a little bit about it just to get us started?
Sure. So it starts off with Willow, who lives in New York City, and she really doesn't have anything that's holding her there. She feels kind of lost, and she gets a letter that her aunt has passed away and that she's inheriting this bookshop, and she has no interest in it because she's not a reader, and she feels, even though she's not connected to New York, it still feels like her home. She doesn't want to go somewhere else. So she ends up being whisked away to this shop, and while she's there, she ends up connecting with people in different ways that bring out different things in her personality, that make her find who she really is. So she ends up, well, I won't say how. I won't give away that name. It's cozy, so we know it's a happy ending.
Right, yeah, yeah. We know which direction we're headed, at least. And obviously, Magical Bookshop as a setting is going to be an immediate hit, right, with readers. What gave you the idea for the bookstore?
I just always found bookstores to be really cozy. For a while, I worked in a bookshop. Doesn't exist anymore. Walden Books.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And just walking around the bookshop, I would even just stay afterwards and just walk around because it was just a nice place to be. It was probably my most relaxing job ever. So,
That's awesome. Did you have kind of a similar experience to your character? Like, did you find yourself connecting with people while you were there?
you do, because, I mean, a bookshop contains every different interest possible. And so people would sometimes bring the books, to be checked out, and sometimes they would initiate conversation, or I would, but, someone puts something in front of you, and it's like a visible connection between two people, and it can spark a
Mhm.
conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the fact that you brought up specifically that meeting these different characters brings out different parts of her personality, right? We're seeing different aspects of her. And um, I I think that's really sweet because often, right, we we'll simplify stories. We kind of boil it down to like one specific thing that a character is working on, or one specific character trait, even sometimes. Um, yeah, can you talk a little more about that? Was that something that you did on purpose, like when you set out?
Not exactly. I wanted her to evolve in a certain way, but the way she interacted with the different characters sort of just came about as the story went.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes close to one of the characters, Fable, in a unique way where she finds friendship that she's never really had a connection with someone like that before. And then, attached to the bookshop is a little cafe. And so she's able to manage that. And so she gets some leadership skills through that. And she's starting to view herself as someone who can have connections with people and can be successful in something that she seeks out to do. And those are things that don't exist in the beginning of the story. And so we see that. And then there's some other characters where we start to see her develop like her nurturing side, and different people bring out different things in her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's very sweet because I mean that's exactly what happens in real life, right? Like we're not one-dimensional by any means. So I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate that recognition of community and the different aspects of community. Now, you touched on it a little bit, but one of the main themes that you point out for the novella is overcoming insecurities. Is that really important for you to include in this book?
Yeah, I think that, you put a little bit of yourself into the characters, which makes them be more richer because it's your own experience that you're kind of pouring into the character.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm older now, but when I was younger, you deal with those things where you're trying to figure out who you are and how you can fit into the world. And so I saw that in this character. Like I could make her come alive through my own experience and my own personal growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that brings up a question for me about like your psychological and thriller books too. Like, did you find that the process there was similar? Like, did those characters also end up dealing with things, or or is it a wholly different experience?
No, that so I really wanted with the psychological thrillers for them to have more than just the big twist at the end.
Mm,
And so both of them deal with some heavy topics. In my first one, she is trying to work through some large trauma that she's had in her life. And then in the second one, they're dealing with the grieving process. And I think to make a psychological thriller something that someone's going to want to invest their time in, that they have to get attached to the characters in more of a way than just the last 10 pages, the big the big shebang at the end. You want them to enjoy the story throughout. So.
yeah. Well, and as funny as it is, we're here on a very cozy podcast talking about also thrillers, but for as opposite as those two genres are in terms of like suspense and things like that, they do kind of have both the internal focus, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That goes into my next question, which I have this juxtaposition, right, between dealing with tough things like insecurity or grief in other books, um, and things like loss, while also, very mindfully creating a story that's going to make readers feel good. Um, and we talk about that pretty often on the podcast as a strength of cozy genres, addressing hard topics, but knowing that things are going to end up okay in the end. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that someone is coming to the cozy genre because they want to maybe get a little bit of an escape. And so I think that it's important that we have these characters who maybe they can see little bits of themselves in these characters. So I had a reader who said to me, I was reading one of your books and it looked like my feelings on a page. And I think that was, to me, that was so beautiful. But it highlights the importance of being able to have your readers see themselves within the characters, that they can relate to them, as opposed to just a character who's sort of moving through the universe, just doing thing after thing after thing, that we get a insight into some of their deeper feelings, and that people can connect to those, because we're all going through different things, and it's not always easy to talk to people about things like anxiety, insecurity, losing a loved one, but you can make a connection with some of the characters in the book if they're feeling these things that you're also feeling, and at least you can sort of go through it as you're reading. I think that can be helpful to people.
Yeah, no, 100%. I apologize in advance because I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute, but have there been books that were like that for you that, as you were reading, that helped you with something?
Let's see. So one of my favorite books is, I wouldn't, if you've read the book, I'm not exactly like this character, but Ella, what is it? Oh my goodness. Let me get it off my shelf. I'm going to mispronounce her name.
Oh, okay.
This one. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. This is one of my favorite books. And, she has some larger issues in this book, but on a smaller scale, she also just kind of feels like she didn't fit in, and that was me like all throughout high school. So, you know, I did feel like a connection to her, like understanding sort of that feeling of how do I navigate this world where I don't feel like I really like belong in this space. So yeah, I definitely connected to that.
Now, when it came to going cozy, was that something that was in your mind from the get-go? Was it just like, oh, I want to try a new genre. What's completely different? Or was it, I want to give somebody that feeling that I got from this book?
I think that I was just sort of feeling overwhelmed, and I just wanted to go into a space where things were warm and filled with kindness, because that's what like I personally needed. I know in the writing world they say like you shouldn't switch genres, but I write just because I enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's definitely harder to market to like such vastly different things. But I'm just going to continue to write what brings me joy. So.
Yeah, I think that's very commendable. And it's also what I hope to do and what I hope our listeners and author friends do. Um, and it's interesting because we have had somebody on the podcast way back in the beginning, who was adamant that she writes, multiple different genres. All for her, it was all within like the sci-fi fantasy umbrella, but all under the same pen name. And she was like, my readers will figure it out. They're smart people.
Yeah. To try to create like a second Instagram, just I do not have the mental capacity for that. So I'm not doing that. And then I just started doing TikTok somewhat recently, and just the amount of time that you have to put into social media, I couldn't imagine doing that twice. So
Yeah.
it's going to be what it's going to be. And sometimes you're going to see things where it's like spooky background, and sometimes it's going to be like a starry sky background. And that's just what I do.
That's good. Well, and I imagine for you too, it helps, like it keeps you on your toes a little bit, keeps things interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, and before we go too far into life as an indie author and everything, do you have plans to continue writing it, like in this series, in this world, cozy fantasy in general?
I'm not sure if I would go outside of the series, but I definitely do want to continue this. And I don't know how far it'll go. I don't really have a vision of like, oh, I want 5 books in this series or anything like that. But I started writing the second one, and it's going to come out October of next year.
Oh, very cool. So the initial foray into cozy fantasy wasn't uh, off-putting.
No, I really enjoyed it. And, in when you're writing psychological thrillers, you have to write in a way where sometimes you have to go back and put in all of these other pieces. And the editing process is, at least for me, is extremely confusing because once you keep reading your book over and over and over again to edit it, and then you're confused about, like, because you've read it so many times, like, when did this happen, when did this happen? But with the cozy fantasy, things flow more chronologically, and it's so much easier to write and to edit. So
Fair. Yeah, it kind of gives you a break. I can see that. Yeah. Well, and on that note, like, because we've also had folks come on, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, oh, it was Jim McKinley was telling me very specifically, like, she'll write in one genre and then like need to change it up and write in a different genre. Like, do you find yourself staggering them like that?
yeah, so
Mm,
I started this one, but I'm really deep into my third psychological thriller
mm.
because that comes out in March. And I imagine that I'll finish this one and then I have an idea for another psychological thriller. So yes, I'll probably just keep hopping back and forth.
Yeah. Did you do it that way on purpose, or is that just how it happened?
No, every time I finish a book, at least with the psychological thrillers, I'm like, okay, that was my last idea. I'm done. And then just
Oh,
something else pops in my head, and um, I was just I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, I got like a spark, and then I just kept like thinking of all of these ways that I would put it together, and I'm like, oh, and then this will happen, and then this person will have this background story, and now I've got, I haven't even put it to paper, but I've got like so many ideas for the fourth one, just waiting to get to my iPad to type them out.
it won't let you go. I like that. While we're talking about, other books, other genres, are there any other upcoming releases or anything you'd like to highlight? Sounds like one in March, right?
Yeah, so it comes out Friday the 13th in March. All my books, all my psychological thrillers, I try and have come out on Friday the 13th.
Nice.
Yeah. So that one is called Everyone I Love Is Dead.
Ooh, okay. Hardcore pivot.
I was in a coffee shop and I was on vacation and I wake up before my family. So I went to the coffee shop and I'm just working on this. And this woman comes up to me and she goes, "Can I tell you something?" And I was like, "Sure." And she's like, "I saw the title of your book and I just want to say that my friend and I said we love that title." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I actually have another book out." And they were like, "Really?" And they took out their phones and they bought it right there.
Oh, that's so much fun.
Yeah, it's so cool. Just the connections you make, like people, I found people are so welcoming and kind when you tell them that you write, like they want to hear about your story. It's actually a nice way to like meet people, I found. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I really, really appreciate that she came up to you and like had seen the title of your story, because for like an instant I thought that that story was going in like a she came up to you and randomly told you everyone I love is dead. So I'm glad I'm glad you already had the title there. Good. Okay. Now this is kind of diving a little bit behind the scenes, but we met at a book fair, and we had time to talk. Mostly, I think I rambled at you about social media and indie life. So, and based on that conversation, obviously, I have a lot of follow-up questions. Uh, Starting with, how do you balance being an indie author with everything else that goes on in your
right now, not well. um, um, we had a big family event that just happened this weekend, and I I didn't open my iPad for like 2 weeks in preparation for this event. Um, and so I'm just slowly starting to get back into it. But normally what I do is I try to get to work about an hour early, and then I have quiet. And so I will either write or edit during that time. And then on the weekends, I'll do what I can. But, I've got two kids and they're in middle school. And so it is hard to find the time. So really, that morning slot is what works for me right now.
I can absolutely see how it'd be hard to find the time. It's a lot going on. And so when you do find that you have the time, how do you decide where to focus your efforts? Like, is it that hour that you have, is that solely writing time? Do you also have to set aside time for marketing and other authorly things?
So usually that time is just either the writing or the editing. And then as far as like the social media, usually I will try to make like things in Canva just when I have like a minute or two here or there. Like for example, I had to take my son to golf today and it was too far away to go home. So I'm just sitting in the car and that's like time to like edit videos, schedule things on like Instagram. So all of that sort of marketing I usually do in the in betweens when it's like, what else would I do with my time?
No, I think it's fit in right between everything else. But I like that you're definitely prioritizing the writing time, right? Like that's the time that has
Hmm.
the hour, which can be hard, right? But like some authors, especially when you're, just like figuring things out or just it's so easy to get sucked down the rabbit hole of all the other things that you can be doing.
Yes, definitely. I think that because I'm like a person who likes the calm and quiet, for me, having that time writing is like a little treat for myself. So that's why I don't find that difficult. But um, yeah, trying to figure out how to market the book outside of like social media, um, that I'm that I'm not really sure. I've tried to like look into um, all different ideas, and I'm still learning. So
I think honestly, I think we all are. I think sometimes it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
yeah,
I even told you that when we met. Yeah, yeah. There's something indefinable in it, right? Like you try your best, obviously, and you try to be very intentional or strategic about it, but then that last 5% is just luck, magic. Who knows, right?
yeah, yeah. And I found that I think maybe it's a little bit more difficult to try to market the cozy fantasy. I don't know if that's because the people who followed me in the beginning were there for psychological thrillers, or if it's just that's just an easier genre to sort of sell to people, especially in October when everyone wants kind of like spooky reads.
Yes, but
Um, but yeah, I had like a few different book clubs that picked up the book for the different psychological thrillers, but I I've never really heard of anyone doing like a cozy fantasy book club, although that sounds really nice. Um, it's been harder for me to find the readers.
especially when you're pivoting, I could see um, that's making me think. I was just at a virtual conference for Cozy Fantasy, which she's
Oh
been here.
yeah, Hearthcon.
Yeah, HearthCon. Yeah, yeah. So I think it's definitely growing, right? The
Yeah. Yeah, and I picked up some books from like hearing some of those different authors. So I mean, it's definitely a great way to market yourself. So
mm-hmm. And because you mentioned it earlier, where my mind is going is, you've actually told a couple stories so far about reader feedback and how lovely that is. Um, what for you has been the most rewarding part of publishing so far?
I've really enjoyed being able to like go to different book clubs. I had um, heavily marketed my books based on like where they take place.
Mm.
So I'm based in New Jersey, and then two of my books are based in different New Jersey towns. And so being able to connect with people there, I found that that always kind of had the biggest like sales boost when I would um, get on some of the Facebook pages and tell people like, oh, I have this book and it's set in your town, and make connections that way. That's been the best way to sort of market it and make connections, and being able to go and then actually meet those readers has been really amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. Okay. So I ask everybody this, but what advice would you give to yourself if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were just starting out?
Definitely to plan more. I think that I
No,
just
no, hold on, because you're planning out quite a bit. Like you have your release dates for next year. You're like, you,
oh, I mean like the actual plot line
ah,
like of a
okay,
story.
okay, all right, continue.
um
I just had to call you out. Continue.
I just yeah, I wrote my first one, and when I was done the first round of edits, it was like 28,000 words, which is very short. And I really wanted to get to at least 50 so I could say I wrote a novel. It was like my biggest goal. Like I didn't even need anyone to buy it. I just wanted to say, hey, I wrote a novel. So it needs to be at least 50,000 words. Um, but um, then I had to go back in and just like try and figure out, well, what elements am I now adding that didn't exist? Because I've already gotten from A to Z. Now, what am I going to put back in here? That part ended up being really, really difficult. And then like you put something in, and then it throws off the timeline here. And so the editing process of my first book was really really difficult. I really didn't enjoy it at all. Um, I think I got better with the second one, and now with the third one, I think I'm worse than the first one. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the, I don't know. I don't know.
No, hold on, because it sounds like you started out mostly as a discovery writer, right? And
hmm
and and did a little bit more plotting, and now you're coming back to discovery writing.
Yeah, I think it's just like disorganization of the mind. Like it's just, you have your idea, and then if something else comes in, it can throw other things off, and then
Hmm.
it just, yeah, it it can be difficult to piece those together. But I don't find that at all with the cozy fantasy. Like I had said before, like I found like that was a very seamless thing to write. Now, one thing that helped with the cozy fantasy was that I wrote that she was going to have 2 weeks at the bookshop. And so each chapter is day one, day two. So that also made it easier for me to keep track of things. So, yeah, but you can't do that with all the books. So,
Yeah, probably, especially in like thrillers and more sneaky things, I suppose. Yeah,
mhm.
that's true. All right. Our very last question. What is one win you've had in the past week? Could be anything.
So we did have this big family event that was really nice to get to spend time with family. And that had been in the works planning for like a year and a half. And so I'm glad it all came together, and it was a nice event, and we got to make good memories together. So that
Yeah,
was my big win for the week.
yeah, that's huge. That's a year and a half of planning. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Well, thank you very much for agreeing to come on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I will have your links and everything in the show notes so that people can find you. And yeah, once again, thank you. And for listeners, I will talk to you next time.
Cozy Alchemy is brought to you by Authors on the Air, and our theme music is by Cyberwave Orchestra. For everything else, blame Elle. You can find her online at ellehartford.com.